31 Ideas That Are Wrong, Part 4, Law and Society. Hello and welcome to the Bystander Effect, where we see what's happening but don't stay silent. Today is the final episode of my series called 31 Ideas That Are Wrong, and we will be covering Part 4, Law and Society. So let's get started with number 26. The United States Constitution is amazing. You hear this, it's celebrated as almost a mythical religious document. The founding fathers gave us this perfect governance structure. And while it was kind of radical for its day, no, this is an idea that is wrong. Setting aside the idea that it was written by a group of wealthy white slave owners, men, the founding fathers hated the idea of popular sovereignty. They were afraid of the tyranny of the majority. They said the country should be governed by those who own it. They did not want true democracy, and this is shown in the Electoral College. Voting rights were only for wealthy, landed men. The Senate, it's actually possible to have a majority of the Senate with only 17% of the vote. So there were lots of protections against popular rule written into the Constitution. Maybe as a historical benchmark, it was kind of impressive, but we're in 2026. It's outdated. It has been for a while now. Number 27, the U.S. has a fair and functioning legal system. People say the U.S. is a nation of laws, not men. Of course not. The U.S. is a system designed to catch the minnows and let the whales go free. As the saying goes, only 2% of federal criminal defendants go to trial because of these really draconian kind of plea deals and sentencing structure where even innocent people claim that they plead guilty because they have this kind of thing where they give them a 30-year sentence. An innocent person has a choice between a 30-year sentence or kind of a lesser 6-month jail time. This is all part of the prison industrial complex. So this is an outrageous statistic. Look at all the terrorism laws that are used against environmental activists or anti-nuclear activists. These were written, after 9/11, but now they're used as terrorism charges. All these people have been oppressed by the American legal system, and they're all heroes. Contrast that against corporate crime, where all of these corporations are multiple-time felons, never just paying a fine and going back to their misdeeds. Only one banker went to jail for the financial crisis. Citizens United, the ridiculous premise that corporations have the rights of people. The Supreme Court says it's okay to consider race when you're detaining and throwing someone in jail, but not when you're giving them an applicant for college. Just over and over examples, and it's gotten pretty much to the apex of this argument with Trump just moving closer and closer to doing whatever he wants as a head of like a dictator style, all of this power getting concentrated in the executive branch. So no, the United States is not a nation of laws, not men, and it never has been. Number 28. Be the change you want to see in the world is effective. This is a famous quote, I believe, by Gandhi, and it sounds nice and uplifting, but no. The only way to change the world is through organized, mobilized mass movements. I'm sorry to break it to you. Your personal habits, especially your consumer choices, do nothing to change the world. All great achievements have been done this way through mobilization, organization. I mentioned this in politics. All of these things were done when people got out in the streets and confronted power. None of these were achieved by voting for a guy who said they'd do it or by giving a good example. It's fine to live a good, principled life and go green and have some kind of maybe synergy between your personal behavior and your greater political ideas. But these personal decisions really just mostly soothe your own ego and make you feel emotionally better about the way you live your life. They do nothing to change the world, and elites know this. Hyper individualism, your carbon footprint, are you using your own bags, or are you taking plastic bags? When we do this kind of individualism, it's a form of disempowerment. Your power to change the world comes in collectively mobilizing and occupy everything. Number 29, hope is always a good thing. People say, I know the world is dark, but we got to stay positive. We got to believe it's going to be okay. No, hope is not always a good thing. My favorite conspiracy theory is that everything is going to be okay. Look, of course, having a positive attitude is helpful in a lot of ways, but I think hope can be both good and bad. I mean, when you look at the definition, a feeling of expectation and desire for a certain thing to happen. And I have no problem with the desire for good outcomes in that sense of hope. But I think that there's this idea of expectation that can sometimes have a boomerang effect, a kind of a background. It can lead to passivity and kind of acceptance of watered down achievements, especially when things are really, really bad. If hope is expressed in kind of myth or if it isn't grounded in reality, it's not effective. It's not good. Of course, Huey P. Newton taught us the first lesson a revolutionary must learn is that he is a doomed man. I don't expect you to be doomed or even a revolutionary per se, but the truth is outcomes are kind of irrelevant. Either way, we must fight, and we can't kind of compromise what we want done based on it's going to get better. We're on a charting of progress. As Chris Sedges says, he doesn't know if we'll win. And I don't fight fascists because I will win. I fight fascists because they are fascist, often quoted. This is the emotional maturity we need. This is not despair. We need to have our level of optimism or pessimism directly proportional to the realities of any situation. And I would argue on things like climate change and politics that we should have a recalibration of what kind of reality we're facing. But always remember, friend Franz, there's an infinite amount of hope, but not for us. Okay. 2 more to go. Number 30, the purpose of education is to prepare you for work. This is an easy one. No, education is not job training. The point of education for all citizens is to teach one how to think, not what to think. Education isn't simply part of the process of getting a job in capitalism. Education is essential for every human being, distinctly independent of your job, of your money, of your career. We need educated citizens. It is its own reward, both individually and socially, especially in supposed democracies. Speaking of how to think, you can see my previous episode called 8 Principles of Debate for a good rundown on the ways that I think one can be an effective thinker and debater in good faith. All right. Last one in this series, number 31. What you are or what you like to have sex with is very important. And here we are at the end of my 31 ideas that are wrong, and we've finally arrived at identity politics. Have I been avoiding it? Of course, identity matters, and diversity is powerful. A room full of a multitude of genders and races, sexual orientations, its histories, backgrounds, etc. A room with that kind of diversity is always more interesting, and I would even argue integral. However, I've got kind of two main points. Number one, arguments matter. Your ideas are based on reasoning, and how you are reasoning is always the trump card. And what kind of argument you're making is not dependent on any identity statistics you may or may not have. At the end of the day, arguments matter. And two, yes, systems of oppressions exist. Of course, patriarchy, white supremacy, heteronormative behavior, all of these are systemically in existence, and I think that they are sources of oppression for great majorities of people who are ironically called minorities. Of course, these oppressions exist, and some people experience more oppression than others, of course. And some people, those that look like me usually, have privileges. This is not a new point, though. We don't need Kamala Harris's best friend forever hawking a kind of intersectionality narrative that completely strips all class elements out of oppression. Socialists have been talking about multiple oppressions and stacking oppressions for over 100 years, like St. Rosa here, Rosa Luxemburg. We need to target systems, not identities. The target is not men, it's patriarchy. The target is not white people, it's white supremacy. We need to target the systems of oppression because that's what these are. Patriarchy, white supremacy are systemic. On all of these things exist not because of genitalia or melanin. They exist because of power. As the great Kwame Ture taught us, if a white man wants to lynch me, that's his problem. If he's got the power to lynch me, that's my problem. Racism is not a question of attitude. It's a question of power. And racism gets its power from capitalism. Thus, if you're anti-racist, whether you know it or not, you must be anti-capitalist. There is no version of capitalism that is free of sexism. There is no version of capitalism that is free of racism. We have to tackle the power. No matter what your identity is, the majority of your oppression is from wealthy elites. Just like me, we share this together. We are both being oppressed by wealthy elites. For example, me, I know I have privilege, but nothing short of my entire life has been stolen from me, and I'm angry about it. Yes, I grew up in poverty. I was sold into student loan indentured servitude, and I have been forced to work in a system of wage slavery every second of my adult life. This is absolute oppression. My oppression is at 100%. This fact is not negated just because I have privileges inside this prison of oppression. And it extends to further generations as well, not just the fact that you and I have the same oppressor, but next generations. People don't want to have kids because of global warming, and that's a rational reaction to the state of the world. My oppressor is your oppressor. That's my point here. There is a villain in the world. It's this guy. And we must all come together to fight him. Of course, that in my logo, it's a white male. I hope that's obvious. I'm not being dense. I know that there are a big correlation of white men sitting on this chair, but it's not exclusive. And all of us need to come together to fight this guy. So that's it. 6 ideas about law and society that are wrong. What do you think about this list? Are there any you disagree with? Are there any that you think I left out? Please tell me in the comments and like and share. Also, this is the end of this series, and as I said in the beginning, I think most of the things on this list are pretty straightforward, from international relations, politics, economics, law and society. In the future on this channel, I expect there will be a lot more unique and kind of novel ideas shared. So please like and subscribe for more of that. But I wanted to start off with kind of a basis on these things. And so tell me what you think, and please join me for the next one. Until then, thanks. Thanks for watching. And please, if you liked that video, Don't forget to click like, subscribe, comment down below. I'll have more videos coming out on a regular basis as well, so you can follow me all over the internet at some of these accounts, and I'll see you in the next one.